Hello, family historians. We are going to pick up with another part of the family tree. I was trying to come up with something a little different for you, and I'm working on George E. Simmons this weekend. And as I was working on him, I found a couple interesting tidbits that you might find helpful as you are doing your own research. So as I was working through, this is a work in progress, so don't make fun of my typos or whatever. So anyway, the whole point here is at the top, I left off the other day. I again put it in red letters as to where I need to go next. And I also had discovered that there was a birth record here on FamilySearch, but it was time to go cook dinner. You know how it is. So it was time to quit and go back over there. So what I did was I went and I pulled up that birth record. And so I'm going to import that now into the record. I'm also got a 1950 census trick for you, and for sure. And what else do I have? A marriage license that we're going to talk about. And yeah, let's get to it. So on here somewhere is George Simmons. There he is right here. Let's zoom in a little bit. So here's George E. Simmons. Okay. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add that information. This was not on Ancestry, so this is on FamilySearch. This is another reason why you want to always try and use FamilySearch in combination with. So what had happened was, as my daughter would say, what had happened was I was doing some research in here, and I'm like, well, I don't have a birth record for him. As I was looking on Ancestry, and I was looking at his profile, right click, view profile. Come on, right click, open a new tab. All right, it didn't do it. I goofed. But anyway, here's his profile. I didn't really have a good birth record for him. I had, find a grave information and all kinds of different records here. But as I'm working through getting all this information into research notes, I was just working through, and I realized also that there's no 1940 census, but there is a 1950 census. And so that's what we're working on right now. All right, so let's go get that birth record and put that in. So here's what I'm going to do is after that note, I am going to go back and take a look at that record real quick. I wonder if I can get this set up again on two different screens so you can actually see what I'm doing. There's the birth record. Let's Windows right button. Ah, that worked. Okay. And then this one, Windows left button. There we go. Okay, so now I can kind of type and you can see what I'm doing at the same time. So what I'm going to do, let's see what this record says. I know this is the right record because the parents are right. So if we follow this across, 1887, that's right, July 16th. And we'll figure out what that is in a minute. But George W. Simmons is his father, and Anna, I think it is, Dunbar. So I do know that to be correct. Let me, by the way, in case you're wondering, they used to have up here view in tree. They've moved it a while back to, is it tools? View in tree right here. So I'm going to open in a new tab with my handy dandy right click method, because I want to be able to see my blur thing blurred out. If I go home, now we can get it set so we can see this. Okay, here's George W. Simmons and Anna Dunbar. Okay, so those are the ones that are mentioned in this birth record. So let's zoom out a little bit so we can see it. I want to know what the 704 is. What does that mean? It's just a number. That says 1888. Oh, I think this is when they were registering it. Notice it's record of births and probate court. Isn't that interesting? Okay, so George Simmons is number 704, but he's born in 1887. So what does that tell you? That tells you that this is written after the fact. And this is an index. This is like a registry book, right? Everything is kind of in order of year-ish. It's close, 1888, 1887. So we're, you know, but it's roughly in alphabetical order. Okay, so you just kind of pay attention to how things are laid out. Because if you think that's in perfect chronological order, then you might miss something. So we note that it's Ohio, Jefferson County, Steubenville. So as we come back down to George here, it's all ditto marks. So that's, we know that it's Steubenville, Jefferson County, Ohio. So that much we know. Oh, I forgot to do Cite-Builder. Please stand by. Okay, I'm back. I love this website. They really have been doing us a big favor by doing this, and I find that the certificates, the source citations that it creates are absolutely fine for the hobbyist, and I would say 90% good for the professional. So index to birth and marriages, that looks like what we want. United States. Index on Ancestry. I think this was an index on FamilySearch. Does she have one for that? Well, what I can do is I can modify this one. So US birth index on Ancestry, because it's an image online, it's going to be very close. I don't see any other one that fits, so we'll use this one. All right, so this is, I'm going to type it just exactly as I see it on here, and I think it was Geo, right? Simmons, here, G-O-E. So I'm just going to type it exactly as I saw it. Whoops, sorry. In the record, and the birth date, again, forgive me for bouncing back and forth. It just, oh, July 16th, 1887. July 16th, 1887. July 16th, 1887. And this collection is, you know what, let's look at this. Oh, I forgot. Darn it. Will it let me do that? So sometimes there's an info box down here on, can't remember where it's at. Does it have it here? Does it have it here? Group data. Sometimes it's under group data. Source citation. Look at that. Let me see the whole thing. Is that citation? I'll take it. Instead of doing, even though this isn't perfect, let's just do that. It'll save us some time. We'll come over here and we're going to use that as our source citation. So what I'm going to do is go 16 July, I'll change the color here in a second, 1887, born in Jefferson County, Ohio. You know what? Oh, that was Steubenville. That's right. S-T, I think it's E-U-B-E-N-V-I-L-L-E. And then I'm going to highlight all that. Let's maximize this so we can see our full. Okay. And then what I like to do is bold the date and the item. Okay. And then what any other information that I might have. Windows key right. There we go. We can I'm going to minimize this for now. Hopefully that doesn't go away, because I want to pull out the information that's in here. All right, so Simmons, George. Okay, so we know it's Steubenville, Jefferson, Ohio. What does this column say? Male. Okay, so he is male. All right, I lost him now. George Simmons. What does this column say? White, okay. White, and then father and mother. All right, so here we go. White, whoops. Father, Connie. I'm going to change that to was. George. W. Simmons. Mother. Anna. Dunbar. And what does this column say? Residence of parents, Steubenville. By whom reported? This is good information. Okay, so it's the mother who is the informant. This is good. All right. Residence. Steubenville. Informant. Okay, so one of the things that you need to know is how important that informant is, because if it was the father-in-law or a grandmother or somebody else, they may not always have the spellings right, they may not have, but more than likely we give mothers a great deal of weight when we're evaluating it. So this is also says record number 704. I'm going to put that in here because I don't think it's in that source citation. If you want to see how I would do this, though, on here instead of using... Let me maximize this just for a second. I want to see what the collection... Because I don't think this is actually the... Alright, I'll copy that. See, what I'm thinking is that this... Let's see what this is. That doesn't tell me anything. Is that 703? I was trying to see if these numbers correlated to these numbers, but I don't think they do. I'm not exactly... That's some hyperlink from FamilySearch, and I'm not exactly sure what that is. County, Ohio. Whoops. Ohio. Certificate number, what was it, 704? Let me double check. Yep. URL. So you could put this whole URL, but the reality is most of the time we just grab that and do that. We say today, source of data. What is the source of data? Creator. This is your source of data right here. Ohio Probate Court. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to copy it there. I'm going to say build a source citation. So this is a little more proper source citation, so I think I'll just go ahead and use that instead of copying the one. Usually FamilySearch is really good about their source citations. Let's compare, shall we? Let's compare. What the heck? So I'm going to pull up my, just so we can, I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom for a second. Let me get a new document, a blank document just for a second. Okay, so this is the one I copied from Cite-Builder. So this will be fun. Let's minimize this for a second. This is the one from FamilySearch. How do they compare? So this is starting with the collection database images, and this is wrong because we have to change this to FamilySearch. Now I'm not ditching FamilySearch on this because Cite-Builder on this because it's a fabulous website. They're still, as we request stuff, still building stuff out. Jefferson County records. So this is the one from FamilySearch. They're giving you the full URL, image 204 of 328, whereas this one was asking for a certificate number. And it might have been because this was actually an Ancestry version that I copied. And you know what? You could also say, we could do this. I mean, we won't really want to get crazy. We could also say also, and have two different source citations. It's called stacking source citations. It's a little ridiculous to do that in this case. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy out all of that. Boom. And I'm going to leave the whole URL in there. I could say certificate number 704, image, what was it? 202 something, please stand by. Image number 204 of 328. 204 of 328. Helps if I look up while typing instead of down. Okay. So is that super what did they say? Creating source citations is like, it's more of an art than a science. So I'm going to go back over to our research notes, and I'm going to scroll back to the top, and I'm going to say references, insert footnote, Control V to paste, and I'm going to what I'm trying to do is get rid of that extra space. So what I do is I highlight all that, I go to the Home tab, I say go remove extra space, remove space before, and I also like to keep that at least 10 if not 9, so it doesn't clog up the whole page with source citations. Alright, so we've got a little bit of information in here, so I don't need this anymore because I just put it in the source citation, in the footnotes. Alright, so I'm saying finish putting in the sources for Ancestry. I left off with adding sources in the city directories and below that. So if we go back over to the set of records here, I left off. Now I didn't record all this. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. This is going to be the next one that I enter into. Well, maybe this one, because I was doing all of this offline. I wasn't recording everything. So here's what I wanted to show you though. As I was working through this, I came across the 1950 census, and there was a couple things here that I wanted to show you. So here's George Simmons and his wife Alice in 1950. And so let's close that out. I'm going to close this out just so it's not so confusing. First of all, if you're not familiar with some of the census records, these supplemental questions are awesome. Sadly, my guy and his wife are not on the supplemental questions, but if they were, there would be extra stuff down here at the bottom about those supplemental questions. So here's like line 3 would be this person up here, line 3. And so the later censuses have some of these extra questions. So as I'm sitting here going through this is the tip that I wanted to give you. So he's 62 years old at this point, and he's married in Ohio, and he's working. His wife is not. He's a farmer, and he has a farm, and he owns his business. So point being here is, first of all, I thought, maybe there's an agricultural schedule, and I forgot that the 1950 agricultural schedules were destroyed. I don't believe they still exist, but if anybody knows that they did survive, let me know, but I'm pretty sure they did not. So always when you get to the end of a page like this, you want to go to the next page, because there could be more family members in the household. Okay, so we click over, and it says farm here too, by the way. Farm, boom, boom. So we go to the next page, and we go to the top of the page, and it says no one at home. So this is kind of unique to the 1950 census. So what this means is the person next door, it's not part of my ancestors' family, but I went, oh, here's a tip that you guys probably haven't seen. So here's what I want to point out. No one is at home. See sheet 74, line 5. Well, there's only 36 images here. Now, let's pretend for a moment that we want to see who's living next door to George Simmons. Who knows? Maybe it's a family member. I don't know. I haven't gone looking for this, by the way. I just wanted to let you know. And by the way, sometimes you have address information written sideways here. All right, so no one is at home. See sheet 74. All right, so let's back up for a second. We're on sheet number 26. And we're also on image 27. Hopefully I don't forget that. 27. Maybe I'll scribble that down here. 27. Okay, so I'm going to go to 36 just for grins and giggles. And we'll see what sheet number we're on. 76. Look at that. All right, and I think it said line 5. Didn't it? Let's go back to 27. 27. See, I remembered it because I wrote it down. No one at home. See line 74, sheet 5. All right, so we're going to go back to 36. 74 is what we're looking for. 74. I'm writing it down because I don't want to forget. Okay, so this is sheet 76, but it's image 36. My point is, when, I don't remember exactly what page number it was, but they were supposed to start at like page 70. So when they got to the end of the neighborhood, the next page, no matter what the sheet number was going to be numbered, I think it was 70 or 72. So point being is, I'm going backwards now. 75. We're going to 74. All right, so there's sheet number 74, as you can see right there. Okay. And so now we're looking for line 5, I think it was. Line 5 is John Howell and his family. So if you run across that in the 1950 census, that's what that means. So I just want to demonstrate for a minute. I'm going to go back. So these are not family members, so it's irrelevant here, but I just wanted to point out that that was the case, that the instructors were told when they were finished going to the end of the neighborhood, for all of those people that were not at home at the end of their book, they were supposed to come back and figure out who that was. So here's sheet 71. So maybe it was sheet 70? I can't remember. All right, sheet 29. All right, so here's sheet 29. The next page is 71. So I'm just letting you know that, to not be confused by that. Okay? So now I have already put that information into the, wait for it, 1950 census information is here. And so I'm not going to get into the weeds about this. He was married twice. And that is because my ancestor, the great-great-grandmother, wait for it, Wilhelmina Lee Koss, died in 1910 after just a few months after giving birth to Helen. So he marries again to Alice, and that's why she is showing up in the 1950 census. Okay, so I think we're done with that. We can close that out. One of the other tips that I wanted to show you was I found this hint for a marriage record, and I'll go to click through to see it, and let me get rid of this birth record. I go to click through to see it, and this is what I see. This sheet of paper, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. I know that's my family. So anytime you come across something like this, you always want to go to the next page. Why? Because the microfilm photographer was told, take it as it is, then flip the page over the little sheet of paper so that we can see what's underneath it. So when we go to the next one, we can see my ancestor's marriage certificate right here, and that sheet of paper was flipped over, and basically what that was a consent by the father for another marriage. I think it was this one, for his 17-year-old daughter to get married. So here is Miss Rosie over here, and here's Rosie, and she is marrying Charles Schmidt. And this is to certify that Andy, whatever his last name is, the father of Rosie, has consent to get married. So that's what that little slip of paper was. But over here, now we can see George E. Simmons and all of his information, certificate number and everything. And I think I already put that into my research notes. Let's see, when did he get married? I didn't pay attention. Come on, Connie, pay attention. Let's see. You see it? You see it? He's 22 years old. She's 21. That's Minnie. Minnie L. Koss. Her middle name was Lee. They get married the 15th day of June, 1908. So let's go look at my research notes. Whoops, sorry. Research notes in 1908. I was trying to grab it. There it is. So I've already put it in there. Married in Jefferson County. Names his parents, George W. Simmons and Anna E. Dunbar. Minnie's parents are named as Reuben Koss and Melinda A. Wade. So this is another situation where this record right here proves the next lineage, proves the next family members. So we've got George W. Simmons and Anna Dunbar as the parents of the groom, and Reuben Koss and Melinda Wade as the parents of... I'm sorry, I keep doing that to you, leaving you with a blank screen. That's not very nice. Over here, so now we have proof, confirmation, verification that these are the parents here. So if you haven't done this already, I usually use this little verified button here. And that comes from records like that, where, it names the parents. And so that'll also tie with a lot of the census records. So what other kind of trouble can we get into? Let's see, actively researching. Left off here, verified. I was trying to think if there were any other tags that would be... they have complete here. I don't know that I ever use that, and here's why. Because research is never complete, because new records are coming online all the time. For example, I might want to go see, since I know in 1950 he owned his farm, right? Do you know where I'm going with this? Are you screaming at your TV set? Come on. Think, what have we been talking about for the last year? If you're brand new here, I'll give you a pass because you're not going to know this. But George Simmons, he's 62 years old. He owns his farm. Owns. Let me show you what that means. He owns his business. Doesn't necessarily mean he owns his real estate, but he's a farmer. He owns his business, which probably means he owns real estate. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run over to FamilySearch and check out that full text search. There's no guarantee that I'm going to find anything over here, but what the heck, let's go look. All right, so, these are the teasers. These are what sends you down rabbit holes, right? So we're on a mission now to see if there's any property for the Simmons. And so, in case you missed that, let me show you. If you're brand new here, so you're on the home page of FamilySearch. Scroll all the way down to the bottom. And if you're not using FamilySearch, it's free. You should be. It's huge benefit for records. All right, so we go to experiments. And then, where are we? Oh, so then what we're going to do is we're going to go George. His name was Edgar, so it might show up. Simmons. I'm just going to say Jefferson County. Jefferson, Ohio, Ohio. Here we go. We always want to use the drop down, whatever they're providing, because that's a standardized place. Now, he was there his whole life. Let's go look at George for a second. 1887 to 1963. I don't know that he actually owned land until after his father dies in 1928. So let's say I'm going to say 1925. When does he die? He dies in 1963. So I'm going to give it a few years after that. 1967, because if he owned land and if that got handed down to family members, it may have taken a few years for the real estate to change hands. I could even go farther. I mean, it could be 10 years after, but probate court, Jefferson County. This is in real time now, remember. Edgar E. George. I'm not sure what that is. Oh, you know what we could do too? Where is he? Where is this? This is in Carroll County. First of all, I'm in the wrong place. He's in Lee Township, Carroll County. So let's change this to Carroll. 2 R's and 2 L's, I have learned. Carroll County. And then I'm going to change this. I'm going to get rid of his middle name because a lot of his records show up as George E. Simmons and not George Edgar Simmons. I was really hoping for an exact match. All right, here's what we can do. So how many results are we getting here? 10,000. Oh, this is crazy. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go quote, quote, and go. Okay, so this is George W. Simmons. This is his father. So this is a deed. I am not ready to, hey, if I found it once, I'll find it again. So I'm not ready to go down that rabbit hole because I'm not working on that guy right now. I am going, Mrs. George Simmons. I am not going to chase those. Let's do this. George E. And you know, I may not find anything. Let's remove the dates. Let's remove the dates completely. Nothing. Let's go George Simmons and wife. All right, I'm gonna pause just for a second and let me look at a couple of these. Okay, I'm back. All right, so I was looking through, there's like 34 results here. And this, remember, we did for Carroll County, and we put quotes around George Simmons. And I'm kind of striking out here from what I'm seeing, because even these George W. Simmons, which I thought was his father, I don't believe is the same George W. Simmons as his father, George W. Simmons, because in these records, a lot of these records are talking about Levi Simmons. This is a probate will, and he's talking about his son, George W. Simmons. And I don't believe that that is the same guy because, to the best of my knowledge, although I haven't proven it yet, George W. Simmons' father was John Simmons. Could this be wrong? Yes, it could be wrong. I always reserve the right to be wrong. So I don't feel the love for these documents, but if you've not seen these before, it's really cool because you can turn on and off show keywords, which I actually like the keywords showing. You can download this stuff. You can either, I did a whole episode on this on the Genealogy TV 1 channel, but You can download them. You can attach it to your tree on FamilySearch if you want. But this is just an amazing piece of technology now that is reading handwritten documents. And so it's just, to me, mind-blowing. So I'm going to close this one out. Here's another one that says George W. Simmons. This is actually the same. This is what caught my eye. This is Levi over here, and it may be part of the same family, but it's not the guy I'm looking for. And so I'm just, as I work each one of them, I kind of close them out. I did not see George Simmons, and got to remember, in 1950, I already closed 1950, but his wife's name was Alice. Let's see if we can get back there. His wife here is Alice. And so what we could do if we wanted to play with this some more is we could go plus Alice up here maybe and hit search. Or we could go, I'm looking at this, hang on. So we could do this, we could go George plus Alice. Now, you don't want a space here, right here. You don't want a space. So I'm going to put a space here and then Simmons. Whoops, Simmons. And see what we get. And I'm going to say from 1887. So let's go. He would have been an adult by 1907. So let's say 1907 might be his first opportunity to buy property. I'm going to get rid of the county and just say Ohio and hit search. Who knows what we're going to come up with. So now we have 4 results. I was really hoping for, George Simmons. It says George John Lewis. Although these, there could be some family members in here because I have been corresponding with a DNA cousin this weekend for this part of the tree, and he and I have common ancestors. He's a second cousin, so if you're not familiar, right? Grandparents, 1 G. Great-grandparents, 2 Gs. Great-great-grandparents, 3 Gs. Now, technically, that would be like third cousins, but he's a second cousin once removed because he's 1 generation older than I am. So, this is his great-grandparents, whereas it's my great-great-grandparents. Okay? So, we have been sharing photographs and stories, and here, I might as well show this to you. Another lesson for you. So see this family Bible. We've been talking about this Bible before on other episodes in the past. Let me close this window. Wait for it. So here's this family Bible. And it's got all this really cool old writing in it. Well, in order to write a proper source citation, I need the front matter for that. This book, and why do I need the front matter? Well, first of all, A, to write a source citation would be helpful. B, when we're evaluating birth and death information in a Bible, we're trying to figure out when the Bible was created, so the front matter helps us know when it was published. Doesn't always have published date information in it, but the other thing that we can do is look at the handwriting. All of this handwriting was written at the same time, so whatever the latest date was on here, looks like it's in kind of chronological order, right? So 1900. So all of this information may have been written about 1900. This one was written after the fact. Why does this matter? Because when we're evaluating how accurate this information is, and usually family Bibles are pretty accurate, but when we're trying to evaluate it, it could be whoever was writing this in around 1900. They aren't sure of these dates, right? Unless they're copying it from some other Bible. If you notice, the ink is the same here. And this was written with 1858 being some of the 1856, 1828. Look at how old some of this stuff is. So this is a great source, but we also have to remember that this information was probably written, I'm going to guess, some of it was written after 1900. And you know, they're going to go from top to bottom, right? They're not going to start down here. So as we're kind of looking through this stuff, you know, if we're finding conflicts in our data, then we always want to kind of weigh the evidence, right, as to what is the, whoops, sorry. Let me go back. As to what is the best information. So I have more work to do, and I'm going to keep plugging away at it. And just one thing about the city directories, you want to try and find as many city directories as you can. I know it sounds laborious sometimes because they were written every 2 years, but it really nails down where a person was and when they were. And here's why you want to keep going. Because sometimes, here is George W. and Anna. Here's George Edgar Simmons. So here he is a plasterer. I knew that. His residence on Market Street. Here's his father, plasterer, residence on NS Market Street Extension. So point being is, and here's some more family members, all in the same area, even though I didn't see them on the census records. So it could have been they were 2 or 3 pages beyond where I was looking. Who knows? But sometimes, if you're going through the city directories and you collect all of them, if somebody moved, sometimes it might say George Edgar Simmons moved to Carroll County. You know, this is Steubenville, so that's Jefferson County. It may say the very last one when he was in Carroll County, it say moved to. And that would be the last entry for that county or for that area. And then you might find a new city directory for him in Jefferson County. So, or vice versa, going to Carroll County, I guess, from Jefferson County. So that's my point, is to go ahead and look for all of those city directories whenever possible. That's it for today. See you next time.